fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top now!
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
It's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
We've raced in Phillip Island in Australia, we've raced in Silverstone in the UK, and now we move to beautiful sunny Spain for the third round of the Pro Truck Showdown here on SimSpeed TV, the Lucas Oil Off-Road Pro 2 trucks around normal road courses. We've seen some fantastic racing in the first couple rounds of this series, and now we are at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, and the historic layout in particular, which is certainly going to spice things up a bit. My name is Reese Gardner, and in the commentary box with me tonight, Cameron Dance. G'day, Cam. Round 2 at Silverstone, we saw some fantastic racing with Mitchell McLeod coming home with the round win. But as we take a look at the European continent here, we move on to Barcelona, which is an iconic Formula One venue. It's been a part of the whole shebang since 1991. And we're racing the historic layout, so there's no real tight hairpins here. It's just all flow all the time.
Certainly it is, and it's a really, really cool track as well, with it being the historic layout as well. Very fast, very flowing, no real major stop-start sort of stuff. You've just got to keep that momentum up and send it when you can, really.
Yeah, especially down that super long straight towards turn 1 and the final sector of the circuit. Of course, a lot twistier now for most racing series, but you see turns 11, 12, 13 and 14 there. It is lovely and flowing, and it's got the original 2 final corners here at Catalunya. Incredibly fast, but in these trucks, with the high center of gravity, high roll in the suspension, and big power and torque coming out of those V8 engines, it's a bit difficult to wrestle a vehicle like this through one of these turns. I tried doing a bit of practice earlier on, and I just could not get around here in a competitive way. I got nowhere near the 203s that we've seen some drivers doing in the practice session. Damien Westbrook, as we're into qualifying. It's largely thanks to Damien that this series has gotten off the ground as it has, running in the number 73 Medici Motor Group truck. Awesome to see him out there and putting himself well into the top 10 as well. Big thank you for everything you've done for this series, Damien, and certainly good luck tonight. He's really wheeling that thing around the track.
He's done pretty good for himself so far in the series, and he's not had too bad of a run as well. So we'll see how he goes tonight in qualifying in the 3 heats that we've got tonight. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how Damien gets on around this Barcelona circuit. You can just see the travel from these high-speed corners. That really does make this truck a little bit more of a challenge to drive on these sort of circuits where it's wide open and flat, more or less, with not really any sort of character to it.
Yeah, 120 kilometers an hour at the apex there for Westbrook, and he's run a 2:05.7, which puts him in the midfield of the times that have been set so far. Aaron Dillon, meanwhile, just getting to the top of the qualifying session on a 2:03.845. First driver into the 2:03s here, and Mitchell McLeod running a time good enough for second. Unfortunately, 6/10 off Aaron Dillon, who took some great dominating runs at Phillip Island. Justin Howe as well, looking for some better results in this third round of the series. Placed well for himself at Phillip Island and Silverstone, looking to continue that momentum, and he hasn't actually set a time yet, Cam, so we're going to see just how quick he is. But have a look at how much he's wheeling that thing through those long turns. There's a lot of oversteer on throttle in these things, and that becomes very important through these long corners. Oh, that might be an off track there for Justin Howe, or on the verge of it at least. You can really tell that it's difficult to keep the mid-corner speed up in these things.
There's certainly no downforce or grip to try and help you in that respect of trying to extract a lap time as he ends up
No time.
time anyway, so it must have been an off track that he got. But yeah, it's one of those things about this truck. You really got to muscle it and be quite patient with it as well to make sure that you don't end up off the road or being a little bit too eager on the gas and causing yourself to end up invalidating your lap or something like that. So it's really one of those cars, I guess, that rewards patience and also rewards those drivers who are able to really get up on the wheel.
Yes, indeed. We saw a couple of technical dramas there for Cade Donnelly. It looks like hasn't been able to complete his lap before qualifying is finished. It only took us 6 minutes to go through the qualifying session, and now we are right into the initial heat of the night. And it's Aaron Dillon on the front row with Matthew Hill, with Mitchell McLeod and Lockie Dalton taking up the second row. Dwayne Priest and Gary Wellman complete the top 6. Sam Devantia and Damian Westbrook on the fourth row of the field. Daniel Stevens for MF Racing on row 5 with Joshua Thomas. Nicholas Walsh and Nathan Verney line up behind them, with Christopher Finlay and Bradley Kemp in 13th and 14th. Lindsay Hobbs and Ryan Jones on the 8th row of the grid, with Todd Maxfield and Cade Donnelly on row 9. Philip Howe and Justin Howe join each other on the 10th and final row of the grid. And it's father and son, Philip and Justin, which is awesome to see. It's great to have a bit of the family ties in sim racing, but we're going to get a start soon. And it's quite the long run to turn 1, Cam. The track temperature not that high, so we're going to see some nice grip out there from these trucks. But that run down to turn 1 is going to be incredibly important.
Certainly is, and it's going to be a long one as well. So getting a very, very good launch is going to be very important to making a few spots, if not getting into the lead of this race. If you're someone like Lockie Dalton or Mitchell McLeod, or even someone just outside that top 5 as well. So we'll see what happens and who can get their way into first position on the way down to turn 1.
Yep, the revs rise, and we are green for the Pro Truck Showdown here at Barcelona. It's a great start from Aaron Dillon. Awesome start from Mitchell McLeod as well. And getting the second phase of the power application down, and now they're going to fan out into turn 1. On the inside of Dwayne Priest goes Lockie Dalton to take potentially 4th place, and he ends up doing it. Couple of drivers left, strung out to dry on the outside. Gary Wellman, one of those drivers, but it looks like for the most part, we are clean as we look back from Dwayne Priest. That's Wellman on the left, and on the right, Sam Devantia trying to hold it round the outside of turn 3. But of course, they come up to turn 4 very quickly, which is a quick-ish entry, just tightens up a bit. And Sam Devantia getting bumped out of the way there. There's no space on the racing line for him.
Like it's been a pretty clean start. We'll be a bit of biff and bar, just 3 wide.
Hold up.
To number 4, and everybody seems to barely just come out the other side. A little bit of argy-bargy, but we're still all straight ahead.
Yeah, goodness me. Daniel Stevens there trying to get his nose into this battle, and Damian Westbrook gaining an advantage from that as well. Oh, Stevens trying around the outside of the chicane with Gary Wellman and trying to get the inside run for the right-hander at the top of the hill, but no dice with him for the moment. There's some great racing further back in the pack, though. Have a look at that contact there between Josh Thomas and Nicholas Walsh. Walsh now under some pressure from Philip Howe, who's trying to advance his way forward here, on board with Philip Howe as Thomas and Verney side by side up ahead, and Verney round the outside into the braking zone, gets it done. The power application is perfectly fine as well, but Philip Howe, it seems, facing a couple of issues there. It looks like Justin Howe, his son, able to try and hold it round the outside. But Nathan Verney at the front of this pack, and the last car in the top 10. Now he's got a straight to stretch his legs, but he needs to nail the application.
Certainly does, and it looks like he's done exactly that as Walsh is checking up everybody behind it. A big squabble of cars trying to fight each other. Donnelly leads it, but here comes Philip Howe and Justin Howe as well, doing a bit of bump drafting. Whoa! Bit of a hip check from Justin Howe on Nicholas Walsh. They're still bumping, and here comes Joshua Thomas up the inside to force it 3 wide, and he's going to get 3 in one corner.
Wow, how did he manage to pull it up there? Looks like he overshot it a little bit of oversteer too. He passed Philip Howe there, the last of those cars, and now, oh no, Philip and Justin have come together. It looks like Justin having to back out of that one as Nicholas Walsh and Lindsay Hobbs battle side by side just behind them. Hobbs on the inside coming into turn 3. This is for 15th position that he's making the pass, and through he goes, dives into the corner, a bit of 3 wide behind him. Ryan Jones, Walsh, and Maxfield as well, biffing and barging their way around this circuit.
Definitely, everybody's got their elbows out tonight by the looks when it's still going on as well at the front of the field, where it's really, really close between those top 2, Matthew Hill and Aaron Dillon, really nose to tail at the moment, with Mitchell McLeod not too far behind. And Damien Westbrook also has a company of Sam Devontier not too far behind him as well. So it's really, really action-packed throughout the field.
It is, and it looks like we might have a move for the lead almost. No, not quite. Matthew Hill pulling out. Oh, but Aaron Dillon overshooting just slightly. That gave Hill a little bit of a look in up the inside. Of course, while we were focused on the mid-pack, Hill passed McLeod back for 2nd position. So now putting the pressure on, piling it on for Aaron Dillon here. And the slipstream down the straight could potentially come into effect. These cars only have 3 gears, and they put the power to the ground through a road-derived 3-speed auto gearbox, but you can still get a good amount of pace out of them. The number 45 makes a pass. That is Gary Wellman on Sam Devantier into the final corner. And that means that Sam now has the slipstream down the straight. We're going to get a good demonstration of what that means as Matthew Hill gets the draft himself and up the inside now into turn 1, and he takes the lead of the race from Aaron Dillon.
Or does he? Because Dillon's come get him up the inside. It was on the outside. He's going to have the inside for turn number 3 as well. So he's managed to barely hold on, but Hill's coming back at him ever so slightly. Not quite going to have enough overlap to be able to get up alongside for the time being, and is going to sit station. Although had a look at turn 4, but not quite there.
Yeah, not quite. And this is backing up all of the top 4 into each other. They've got McLeod and Lockie Dalton behind them. And in 5th place, just lurking in the background, is Dwayne Priest. Oh, almost contact there between McLeod and Dalton at the hairpin, but they've sorted themselves out for the time being. Dalton had a little bit of a go there at Mitch. And through this middle sector of the circuit, it's not very easy to pass. The best braking zones probably into turn 1, into turn 4, and then down into the hairpin in the final sector as Stevens gets a great exit. Bit of a mistake there from the number 97 of Sam Devantier. Out onto the AstroTurf using all of the curb, working out for now. But Daniel Stevens could potentially throw one up the inside of this hairpin here. Other than that, through the middle sector of this circuit, it is very difficult to make a pass. Having said that, the lead is on once again, and it looks like Matthew Hill almost trying round the outside here of Aaron Dillon in the final sector, and this could translate into another move into turn 1, but can Dillon still protect from it?
That is the big question. It looks like he's just done enough for the time being, but Hill's going to have his draft down the front straight, and even Lockie Dalton could possibly get in on this as well, as he's close enough for a draft. And Mitchell McLeod with a pretty decent run out of the final corner as well, so he might be able to take 3rd position off Lockie Dalton. But the 2 leaders side by side on the way down to turn 1. Who's going to be the bravest on the brake pedal? It looks like it's going to be in favor of Hill, but he's managed to just do it in the end, and they're going to come together as Dalton and Dillon.
Yes, indeed. My goodness. Aaron Dillon pushed it to the absolute limit there coming into turn 1. But losing the lead, he does have one more lap after this one is complete to try and get that back. But McLeod and Dalton trading places as well. McLeod now back to 4th and trying round the outside of turn 4. If you can get the power down, straighten out the exit, you can get a really good run into the hairpin, but a bit too much oversteer there for McLeod, losing out in the traction stakes. And oh my goodness, for the lead side by side, Aaron Dillon has given Matthew Hill a bit of a tap in that hairpin. They've worked themselves out though, but Aaron Dillon with a bad run, contact between himself and Dalton, and that's going to Concertina back into McLeod as well.
It's going to bring Dwayne Priest right into this as well. So nearly a 5-car fight for the lead of this race at this point, and really does go to show that this series really is absolutely insane for racing, and it's still going on nose to tail between those top four as well. McLeod's trying to size up Lockie Dalton, looks to the inside and will get the move done, and Dalton to the inside of Hill, and McLeod makes a mistake.
Wow, that was almost avoiding action there from McLeod, and that's a problem for Aaron Dillon. He's actually made a big amount of contact. Matthew Hill as well, retaining the lead, but Aaron Dillon now is back behind Priest and Dalton. So something that we missed there.
Yeah, I think they might have come together through the sweeping left-hander by the looks of it. Just a little bit of a... Well, it looks like he'll try to get a bit more of a run and end up just coming back across on Dillon, unfortunately. And that's really shaking up that top three now as Matthew Hill leads this race, followed by Dwayne Priest and Lockie Dalton, still sitting in third. And you've obviously got Dillon and McLeod fourth and fifth. But it'll be interesting to see if they can get to the front of the field again, because it is the white flag.
It is indeed. One more lap to go here, and Priest incredibly hard on the brakes. He's actually gone into Matthew Hill a little bit. Tiny bit of oversteer as a result. And Hill has got all the pressure piled on him now. The top three are together, the top four, top five, maybe even the top six, because Damian Westbrook has been working away as all of this chaos has been going on. He's right on the back of this pack. Let's see what happens then into turn four. Bit of a defensive move there from Dwayne Priest, but Lockie Dalton committed to the move anyway. Half spins him around and takes Dillon for a bit of a ride as well. Dillon is going to maintain the momentum and get second place back here just before the hairpin. So, bit too much biff and barge going on as McLeod then piles into the hairpin and smacks Dalton out of the way. There's big contact between all these guys. Westbrook now up into fifth place as a result of all that. Dwayne Priest tries around the outside of McLeod there. A bit of oversteer into the chicane as we ride on board with Westbrook. My goodness, what a great view of this action he has got. But Matthew Hill having an excellent lead right now. I don't think he's under any threat for the rest of this lap, so it is going to be for the top three. Currently, it's occupied by McLeod, but have a look at them moving over to the left. That's Damian Westbrook defending from Lockie Dalton. There's been a bit of contact, oversteer into the hairpin once again. That's going to allow Dalton to get up the inside of this corner, but he's going to have to take the outside around the long right-hander. One of three to end the lap. McLeod moves up ahead of Dwayne Priest. Meanwhile, that's going to be good for him. Up then into third place for Mitchell McLeod. Oh, Damian Westbrook piles it in. But for Matthew Hill, it's going to be victory here in the first heat of the night. An excellent run from Matthew. Briefly lost the lead, but managed to get it back through the carnage. Aaron Dillon and Mitchell McLeod are your top three. Dwayne Priest comes home in fourth, with Damian Westbrook finishing fifth, and Lockie Dalton coming home in sixth place. It's still going on for the positions outside the top 10, though. Lindsay Hobbs and Nicholas Walsh trying for 11th and 12th, but ultimately working out between them. There's some big packs of racing in the back of the field to finish off this race as we go for a bit of a somersault through the air. That is the end then of that first race of the night here at Barcelona. And now we're going to move straight on through into the second race, where everyone's going to be inverted. 20 cars here. The guy who won starts in 20th. So that means that Philip and Justin Howe are going to make a father-son front row for this one. Nathan Verney and Ryan Jones are going to line up third and fourth, with Bradley Kemp and Christopher Finlay in the top six. Joshua Thomas and Nicholas Walsh line up seventh and eighth, with Lindsay Hobbs and Todd Maxfield rounding out the top 10. It's Donnelly and Stevens behind them, then Wellman and Devantier, Dalton and Westbrook, Priest and McLeod, and then the top two from the race before, Aaron Dillon and Matthew Hill, taking up the rear of the grid. The revs are rising, and we're about to go. And there it is. Philip Howe, unfortunately, not getting an excellent start there. He's been taken over by both Nathan Verney and Justin Howe. And it looks like Bradley Kemp is going to get the run as well coming into turn one. Look at the inside, though. Ryan Jones trying for the move here. Bit of contact between himself and Howe side by side as they go into turn one. Round the outside, Nathan Verney could potentially get this if he gets the power down. No, he doesn't. Justin Howe leads the race.
barely doing enough to hold on to the lead of the race is Justin Howe, and it wasn't too good of a start for Philip Howe either, so not quite an optimum start for him, but nevertheless still holding on to a podium position. Ryan Jones, though, all over the back of him, but you can see it's all going off further back in the mid-pack of the field as well, so a lot of battling going on throughout this field as everybody sorts themselves out on lap 1.
Yeah, we look at the mid-pack because, my goodness, things are fanning out. Jones tried for the move for the lead at the hairpin, but nothing doing there, and not much room on this racetrack for a lot of these trucks. There's been a bit of an incident at the back. Looks like Mitchell McLeod had some contact and went for a bit of a ride. He's now at the back of the field with Aaron Dillon. Have a look at how ridiculous this racing is in the middle of the field. There's barely any room for any driver to make any kind of headway. I don't even know who to look at here because it's just this constant stream of cars coming down into the hairpin. Christopher Finlay up the front, making a defense there from Verney and Joshua Thomas. A bit of contact between them. That means that Nathan Verney's been sent for a bit of a half spin around the outside. That lets Todd Maxfield through. Oh, and there's a crash at the back. We've got a truck spun, and that is Daniel Stevens, who's had to make his way back further forward. It looks like it was rear-end contact between himself and Sam Devantia that caused that.
To get checked up as well by Damien Westbrook, setting it up the inside, barely giving him a little bit of a tap on the way by. So unfortunately, Stevens will have to settle for probably last place at this point, but it's certainly on for those positions just inside the top 10 as well, as there's a little bit of a drag race going on between Dalton and Westbrook at the moment, with Kemp and Hill just behind them as well, 2 by 2, all the way down the front straight, and it looks like it's barely going to be in favor of Dalton.
Yeah, goodness me. Dalton just slips on through, and it looks like he might get 2 for 1 here because Nathan Verney round the outside. Unfortunately, no grip available to him. So taking advantage of that was Lockie Dalton, as we see Bradley Kemp trying his best to put the power down in turn 4. On board for the top 5, riding on board with Todd Maxfield, Joshua Thomas here, trying very hard to get into the top 3. But I think we have to go back to that lower mid-pack because it's still looking really crazy. Big oversteer from Matthew Hill, race 1 winner into the hairpin. He stopped, the track is blocked. And oh my goodness, that was contact with Mitch McLeod. And that has let Aaron Dillon all the way through to the front of this pack, which is going to be really good for him. But Matthew Hill and Mitchell McLeod mired back in this pack, as is Dwayne Priest. They're trying their best here. Oh, that's a big contact there between Sam Devantia and Gary Wellman. Devantia sent off spearing into the gravel trap.
Yeah, it's certainly all going off in this mid-pack of the field as well, with all sorts going on. I mean, they're nearly 5 wide at one point coming out of turn number 5, so everything's going on, and you can see a replay there of the contact that happened at turn number 5 and even turn 4 as well, between all these drivers trying to come through the field as well, on board with Damien Westbrook, who gives us a pretty good idea of what happened at turn number 5 as well. As you can see, McLeod and Hill all battling hard, and he's just given the bump to McLeod, who's ended up turning Hill, and it's all just gone awry from there.
Yeah, well, McLeod and Hill probably would have made the corner if that hadn't happened. So as we go back to live pictures, we have to pick up the pieces. For second place, Justin Howe and Philip Howe side by side on the front stretch, and then through goes Justin into the lead. As just behind them for fourth and fifth, Todd Maxfield and Josh Thomas side by side. And oh my goodness, through on goes Lockie Dalton. Once again at turn 1, big side by side contact. That ricocheted him into Lindsay Hobbs, who's now going to get the inside and the traction. My goodness, there's so much that happens in a single corner in these things. Bit off track there for Lockie Dalton, back into the white lines then for turn 4. I tell you what, Joshua Thomas here, all he can do is just watch his mirrors and pray.
Yeah, certainly. It's all he can do at this point. At this stage is a big send.
Oh, no.
Hobbs, and it was not what he was going to be hoping for. And now Lockie Dalton's going to have... They're going to be 3 wide, nearly pushing each other the whole way down towards the next corner. And Dalton's going to come out of this ahead of both of them. Hobbs is going to be just behind, and Thomas is going to lose 2 in one corner.
Goodness me, Lockie Dalton throwing caution to the wind there, and now he's got a big defensive game to play because Lindsay Hobbs is looking very aggressive there. They've started to sort themselves out with 4 laps to go. Nicholas Walsh and the like down in the lower midfield, just outside the top 10. I'm looking at a potential pass happening. Nathan Verney getting taken by Dwayne Priest down at the hairpin. You see it in the background of that shot. And that means that Verney's going to lose out to Gary Wellman as well. But Mitchell McLeod back up to 11th behind Aaron Dillon here. And these are the top 3 from race 1. You see Matthew Hill just up ahead of them in the Red Bull-like car. They've got an awful lot of work to do if they want to advance further towards the top 5 in this race. They are all outside the top 10.
Yeah, they certainly haven't done each other any favours, more or less, in the first few laps of this race. Only 2 to go, so we'll see what they can do in these last 2 laps and how much further they can get up the field. As Mitch McLeod looking up the inside of Aaron Dillon on the way into turn number 1, and he's going to get the move done nicely. So he moves up into what was the second place at the time for this little battle. So he's probably going to be an advantage point from a points perspective now. So it's looking very feisty at him though, with Thomas and Westbrook going side by side, and Hill nearly forcing it 3 wide.
Well, let's see if they make it 3 wide down at turn 4. Hill protects from McLeod on the outside. There's contact between Westbrook and Thomas. That means that Dillon could potentially slip through here, but no, Josh Thomas, with the lack of traction, has backed himself into that pack, and none of them have a chance. Oh, big contact between Damian Westbrook and Mitchell McLeod. They're almost sent completely off. Oh my goodness. Having a bit of an off-track adventure there was Christopher Finlay on the inside of that. So single file running resumes for the time being. Oh, have a look at it for the lead. Phillip and Justin Howe. They look like they're just having fun out there. All of this battling further back in the pack is just giving them an advantage. There's been a big incident at the chicane. Gary Wellman and Damian Westbrook have come together somehow. And Westbrook now all the way at the back of the field. So I'm not too sure what's happened there, but ultimately contact in the middle of the chicane settling that. It looks like it was actually Nicholas Walsh making rear-end contact with Damian Westbrook, and there was nothing that could be done. All of the other cars involved in that one. Hearing that there's been another problem for Matthew Hill. Seems that he is now... he was... It looked like it was almost some trouble there for him, but I'm not quite sure what's gone on there, because Mitchell McLeod has moved up ahead of both Dillon and Hill. I think there was contact at some point.
There was. They were 3 wide on the way into the back end of the section. He actually got shuffled back and lost 3 positions as a result, unfortunately. So he's gone backwards a little bit, has Matthew Hill, but he's going to be on a charge in this last lap to see what he can do. Dalton throwing it up the inside and barely holding on.
Yeah, just barely. Ryan Jones bumped out of the top 4 thanks to that. Meanwhile, we look at the rest of the field going through turns 1 and 2. Sam Devantier, who has already had some adventures tonight, manages to sneak up the inside of Dwayne Priest into turn 3, but Priest might be able to get him back here before the 4th turn, and Priest obviously carrying an awful lot of damage on that truck. No front end left on that thing, which is not going to help him down the straight, and I don't think it's helping him with a bit of extra grip either, but Nicholas Walsh around the outside could potentially donate a position here. Down into the hairpin they go. No, Nicholas Walsh tries to go back up the inside of Sam Devantier and bumps him out of the way, and for good measure on the exit as well.
Yeah, certainly. It's all going on further back and pretty much all over the field as well, with drivers trying to find their way on by various different drivers, and it's a massive gaggle of trucks in the middle of the pack as well. You can just see so many of them all trying to find their own little bit of real estate at this point and giving each other a biff and barge as well. So there's nothing. It's the final lap. By all means, fight as hard as you can, but this is unbelievable.
Yeah, we're actually we're going to have white flag just after this, and that's a crush into the hairpin. Daniel Stevens had pretty much nowhere to go, but they've all managed to get through here. Daniel Stevens trying his best to defend from Damian Westbrook, and big contact between the two of them. Stevens bumped out of the way, but at the front of that pack, Dwayne Priest has managed to work himself into a great position. He is now through, and it looks like Nicholas Walsh is going to have to defend pretty heavily from Cade Donnelly and Damian Westbrook down this straight. They've already nailed the throttle application, and now here we go between them all. Aaron Dillon ultimately coming down into 8th, but have a look at this train of cars down the front straight as we get the white flag. There goes Devantia trying to... Westbrook and Donnelly, they both gone off. That's huge there. Side-by-side contact between Damian Westbrook and Cade Donnelly. That sent Donnelly into the wall and careering across the track. It looks like that truck is totaled for Donnelly, but Westbrook might just be able to keep going.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty second-hand truck now for Cade Donnelly. Nearly missed the wall, but unfortunately, just on the angle that he was and the positioning that he was, he ended up firing himself straight into what was effectively a straight-on hit with the tire wall and got sent a solid amount. I mean, I don't know we're in truck racing, but I didn't realize this was just sent it just about.
Yeah, goodness me. And looking further up the road, number 104, that's Christopher Finlay, getting a bit of a tank slapper on and getting ditched on the inside of turn 3. He's managed to keep it going, though. For the lead, though, on the final lap, Philip Howe and Justin Howe continue to battle for the father-son top 2. Lockie Dalton, though, it's starting to creep up on them, and he could take advantage if they come together. He's already on them, coming into the final 4 corners of the lap. Justin Howe now can get up the inside of Philip. No, Philip ends up squeezing him off the track. They both end up squeezing Dalton off the track, and round the outside is going to go Philip Howe to try and keep this from Justin. More contact between the two of them coming into the penultimate corner. Howe now with the advantage coming into the final turn. Contact between Dalton and Philip Howe, and that's going to work it out. Justin Howe is going to come across the line to take victory. Second place is going to be Lockie Dalton after starting all the way back in 15th. An excellent run from him. Coming home in 4th, Todd Maxfield, but a lot of drivers very unlucky in that one. The highest finishing driver out of our podium sitters from the first race, that's Mitchell McLeod. He couldn't do anything better than 7th. Those guys were really facing difficulties in that pack.
Yeah, they certainly were, and unfortunately they're going to pay the price as a result of fighting so hard and finish it a little bit down the order compared to where they probably would have liked to, but nevertheless, they're not too far out of reach of a possible win in the feature, so we'll see what happens and where they end up in the end.
Yes, indeed. Those are the results then, the top 10 from this second race. Ryan Jones holding on for a top 5, which is awesome to see. Matthew Hill coming home in 9th after couple of incidents battling with Aaron Dillon and Mitchell McLeod there, so they finished just outside the top 6. Our pole sitter ended up finishing 3rd at the end of all of that, but Dwayne Priest, Gary Wellman facing a lot of their own issues as well, finishing in 12th and 13th, and Damian Westbrook ultimately coming home in last, I think, because there was a penalty for the incident between himself and Cade Donnelly.
Yeah, certainly it was quite a chaotic one, but then you go over the page to Sam Devantier, then you've got Dwayne Priest, Gary Wellman, Nicholas Walsh, Daniel Stevens running at the top 15, then Nathan Verney, Bradley Kemp, Christopher Finlay, and then Cade Donnelly and Damian Westbrook rounding out the 20-car field.
All right, now we get a little bit of an opportunity to have a breather, because after a 5-lapper and a 6-lapper, we got a 4-minute warm-up session before we have the feature race of 8 laps around here. And the field is going to start based on the finishing order from race 2. So it's going to be difficult to tell who is leading on round points. Definitely a lot more difficult than it was at Silverstone, because our top drivers from the first race not making it very far through the field in the second one. So round points, I think, whatever they are, they're going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a bit of a mixed up order in the round points, that's for sure, based on the finishing positions of the last race. So it'll be interesting to see what happens into this next race and who's going to end up coming out with the round win in the end.
Yeah, well, we'll try and figure it out along the way. See who is in the lead on the round points, but for now, it's just a couple of minutes of quiet time before the revs fire up again. It's time for the expression session, which means the drivers go around the track and just do whatever the heck they want. See how they can drift it around these corners. I'm looking at Ryan Jones, who's really going side to side down the straight, just missing the walls for the most part. And that's a good demonstration that these trucks are indeed rear-wheel drive, not four-wheel drive like their Pro 4 brethren. These things are only driven in the trailing wheels.
Yeah, certainly only two-wheel drive instead of four-wheel drive, so you've only got two lots of wheels powering the truck, so it makes it a little bit easier to drift, I guess you'd say, instead of having to yank the handbrake every 2 seconds. But definitely it makes for some very, very good entertainment with the fact that they are rear-wheel drive and they get to do some pretty sick skids, as they say.
Yeah, pretty sick skids happening around this place. Running on board with Todd Maxfield, you see the amount of wheel work that's required. I mean, the amount of body roll these vehicles have, my goodness. This is really an expression session, isn't it? You've got to plan out every single corner from the perspective of a driver of one of these things, because there's so much body roll that the weight actually takes its time transferring to the front tires. It means that you're not quite going to get the turn in you need until you're well into the corner. So you've got to be gentle with your brake and your steering.
Yeah, you certainly do, especially when you're trying to be as smooth as you possibly can as well, because you don't want to lock up those rears or fronts or even wheel spin too much. So you've really just got to be nice and smooth and look after those tires as well, with the fact that they're a dirt compound as well instead of a slick or something that you'd normally find on a race car on a road track. So a little bit different to what majority of these drivers will be used to. But yeah, it's just all about making sure that you're not over driving the thing too much.
Yeah, well, they're getting a lot of overdriving experience in this session, so they'll be well aware of what these vehicles are like when they've been pushed beyond their limit. Just a few seconds to go, though, in the warm-up session, and then we're going to be through to the feature. We still have no idea who's in the lead on round points, but and I'm not too sure if we're going to know by the time the checkered flag falls. But either way, this is going to be a fantastic feature here at Barcelona. Justin Howe is going to start on the pole. Alongside him, Lockie Dalton, Philip Howe and Todd Maxfield line up in third and fourth, with Ryan Jones in fifth and Lindsay Hobbs joining him on the third row of the grid. Mitchell McLeod and Aaron Dillon are going to start side by side, with Matthew Hill just behind them. Those were the top three from race one. Hill alongside Joshua Thomas on the fifth row of the grid. Sam Devantier in the 11th spot, with Dwayne Priest and Gary Wellman behind him. 14th place is going to be Nicholas Walsh. Stevens, Verney, Kemp, Finlay, Donnelly and Westbrook round out the 20-car field for this one. And the track temp, still the same as it was. The gridding period is now over, though. We're about to go green for the final race here at Barcelona. 8 laps. Oh, it was go a bit too early there for Philip Howe. That is a real jump start. He's put it in a reverse on the grid. And oh my goodness, that reaction has concertinaed everyone back into him. That means that Ryan Jones is at a massive disadvantage coming down the straight. My goodness, Gary Wellman almost getting turned around coming into the first couple of corners. So Philip Howe, the biggest loser out of all of that, and a bit of a concertina effect, contact from Jones into Priest, into Thomas, and Dwayne Priest now all the way to the back of that pack.
Yeah, it's certainly been a chaotic start for the field, and unfortunate for the car full of power as well off that start to jumping as well, and not an ideal start for Ryan Jones either. So it's been a pretty chaotic start for everyone so far, but a few drivers really taking advantage of those mistakes, and as a result, you've got Aaron Dillon, Matthew Hill, and Lindsay Hobbs, and even Mitchell McLeod all inside that top 10 easily now.
Yeah, looks like it. And these guys up the back here, the top three from race Matthew Hill has lost out a bit to Aaron Dillon, but now he's having to really protect from Lindsay Hobbs, who himself is having to protect from Mitchell McLeod behind him. So lots of hard racing in the mid-top 10, but the leader, Justin Howe, coming under some massive pressure from Lockie Dalton, as that's a problem there for Damien Westbrook. One of the big guns of this series. Unfortunately, his engine has blown. We're going to take a quick look at what happened there. And it looks like some big damage. No. Oh, he was sent straight into the Armco. And, I mean, I don't think it matters what kind of vehicle you're running. You hit a wall at that angle at that speed, and it's going to be totaled.
Yeah, it wasn't going to be a good ending for Westbrook, regardless of how hard he was going to hit that Armco. It was going to be some pretty decent damage to that truck regardless, and unfortunately it's done the engine as well. So he is out of this race at this stage, but battle is on for the lead at the moment as Lockie Dalton has got a decent run on Justin Howe for the lead of this race, and you've got Todd Maxfield and Aaron Dillon and Matthew Hill not too far behind as well. So nice 5-car train for the lead of this race.
And Howe absolutely ploughing into turn one. Notice there was a tiny bit of contact between Dalton and Maxfield in the braking zones. There's a lot of variance in braking distances in these things. Hobbs versus McLeod, meanwhile. There goes McLeod up the inside into turn three. Got a great exit from turn two. And it looks like that's going to secure Mitchell McLeod, the winner of round two. 6th place for the lead, though. Lockie Dalton tries on Justin Howe, but Howe is wise to it. He keeps the momentum up in the middle of the corner, and now Dalton has to face up against Todd Maxfield. Back onto the racing line goes, and Aaron Dillon wants a bit of a look into this too. He gets up the inside of Maxfield, and Lockie Dalton, ultimately the beneficiary in that small exchange. But up the inside of Maxfield goes Dillon into the chicane, and it's going to be a free position there for Matthew Hill, the winner of race one.
Yeah, certainly. He's going to have moved up into a fourth position now, and he's not really going to be enjoying it all too much because he wants to stay ahead of Aaron Dillon, but in the way that these points are shaping up, I reckon, so he's going to want to get a move on at some point, though. Still decent amount of racing to go, so we'll have to wait and see what he does. He's looking to make a move on Aaron Dillon, and Aaron Dillon's teammate of Todd Maxfield looking just as well, but not quite able to get it done. But it's on for the lead, though, between Lockie Dalton and Justin Howe. Lockie Dalton looking left, right, and centre to try and get by.
Yeah, he tried to go real aggressive around the outside into the right-hander, but there's just not enough grip out there off the racing line for him to do it. So it's going to be another drag down the start-finish straight. Bit of wheel spin from Justin Howe, and that lack of traction means that Dalton has the slightest of advantages. Going slightly defensive is Howe to the middle of the racetrack. All that smoke you see is from Westbrook's engine in the pits. To the inside then goes Lockie Dalton for the race lead, and side by side behind them, Aaron Dillon's going to get passed by Matthew Hill. Have a look at this. Justin Howe could hold on to the lead here. He's got the inside line for turn two, and he manages to just keep it, but he's turned in a bit late, and that's given a bit of room to Lockie Dalton on the inside. Now, this is the point where Justin Howe needs to get on the throttle a bit earlier and maintain the momentum, but looks like his fronts have run out of grip just a little too soon for that to be an eventuality. And there through goes Lockie Dalton, potentially into the lead once again, but they're going to be side by side coming into the hairpin, and Matthew Hill is going to be loving this. Howe on the inside. It's just two abreast coming into the hairpin, and really wide goes Lockie Dalton. That means that Matthew Hill up into second place for the time being.
Yes, certainly. He's up into there, although Matthew Hill slotting on in to second place as well. So Lockie Dalton going to drop back to third, but he's going to come back at Matthew Hill up the inside, and he's going to give him a little bit of a bump as well for good measure to move back into second place and shut the door as well. So making it difficult for Matthew Hill to get on by Aaron Dillon right in this battle as well, and he's going to look to go round the outside of Matthew Hill. Is he going to be able to break late enough? Not quite. McLeod shoves his nose in as well. 2x2 up on the way through the final sector.
Yeah, and Matthew Hill got a great exit. He's actually managed to secure the position over Dalton there. And now McLeod, a position up on Dylan through this corner, getting the power down nicely too. Bit of contact between the two of them. Oh, McLeod almost had a huge oversteer moment there, but they managed to keep it going. I got to say, this has been great defending from Lockie Dalton and great aggression as well, as he actually gives Matthew Hill a tap in the middle of the last corner. Here we go, for the lead once again. Justin Howe is a sitting duck down this straight. He moves over to the middle of the circuit to try and protect his line, and there goes Matthew Hill all the way to the inside. He knows that he's got the run. He's got to try and pick his braking marker. Almost trying to go 3 wide here is Mr. Lockie Dalton, and they pincer-moved him. They pincer-moved Justin Howe into the braking zone. And that means that Matthew Hill's going to take the lead. Lockie Dalton suffering a bit of wayward behavior in his car. It's brought him right back into the clutches of this pack.
Yeah, just got on the power a little bit too much, and as a result, ended up with buckets of wheel spin on the exit of turn 2 and has dropped back into the clutches of this battle for 3rd and 4th, and it looks like Howe's just going to hold off McLeod. He's trying around the outside, and Aaron Dillon's going to stick it up the inside, before he's going to be stuck up on the outside. McLeod with a big lot of wheel spin on the exit of the corner, and he's going to hold on to stay up the inside. Barely a little bit of a shove onto the tail of Justin Howe, but he holds on to the position.
Oh boy, this is really intense racing here coming into the lower reaches, the top 5. Justin Howe getting a bit liberal with the track limits there, getting onto the grass. A little bit of extra oversteer into the chicane can help you, but not like that. It means that McLeod is right on the back of him once again. We'll see what kind of defensive driving goes on here. But, that is a problem for Ryan Jones in the number 11. Looks like that's a retirement there for our usual sim speed commentator. Coming into the hairpin, though, have a look at Aaron Dillon on Mitchell McLeod, making a bit of contact between the two of them. McLeod maintains the position, but Todd Maxfield almost had a look in on that battle as well.
Yeah, certainly did have a look in on the battle, but just couldn't quite get in there, and still see it's nose to tail for this battle as well, as they will chase each other down and try and get to the front of the field as well. Mitchell McLeod not too far up the road from this little battle pack of Dylan, Maxfield and Hobbs, and Dylan will be trying everything he can to get ahead. But Mitchell McLeod closing down Justin Howe with a nice run out of the final corner, as well as they're dicing for the lead as Matthew Hill goes to the inside of Lockie Dalton. As they have a drag race down towards the turn number 1. Dalton's going to be on the outside. Hill throws it on and gets a little bit sideways on the way in, and Dalton's barely going to hold on, but Hill is there. He's shoving him, and he's going to just get the position off him.
Wow. I mean, that is just the right amount of racing room and no more for these things. Matthew Hill keeping it on the racetrack there. Some excellent racing between the two of them. Of course, that means that Howe and McLeod right back onto this battle. McLeod goes to the inside of Howe, ran a bit wide in turn 3, but to the inside is going to go Justin Howe for the hairpin. Oh, 3 wide. That's going to take out Lockie Dalton. He spins. No, manages to just keep it going. McLeod going around the outside now of Justin Howe, and he could have the advantage into the chicane. He's a little bit later on the brakes, and yes, he takes the position. So that almost went completely awry for McLeod and his friends there in the lower reaches, or in the mid-reaches of the top 10. But looks like this battle, from first all the way back to 7th, shows no signs of abating at all.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't show signs of easing up anytime soon, as Dalton up the inside of Hill once again and managed to make the move stick very well, but Hill's going to come back at him up the inside with a big load of wheel spin, cuts across the runoff on the inside and gets shoved out wide as well to drop behind McLeod, and he's possibly going to drop behind Howe as well, which he does. So Howe managing to take position off him, and now Dalton's dropped back 2 positions and McLeod up in a second.
Wow. Great lap there from these guys, particularly from McLeod. He could potentially have a look in here for a race victory, potentially a round victory, if his rivals have a lot more trouble. But Justin Howe now is probably going to get taken by Matthew Hill and Aaron Dillon as for the lead. Mitchell McLeod goes for it round the outside of Lockie Dalton. That was a great draft down the straight. Dalton is later on the brakes, though, and fires it into the corner. Keeps the momentum up. There's contact behind. That was between Hill and Howe. But the two leaders stay roughly the same coming into turn 3. What I love about this track and these vehicles is there's so much you can do to try and keep a position. You can power out round the outside and really get it done.
Yeah, you certainly can, albeit with a little bit of a throttle modulation, but nevertheless it is one of those things you can just really throw it in and manage to hold it around the outside, which is really, really good to see and mix with some awesome racing. And look at the train of cars for the battle for what is effectively the lead of this race. 7 cars, all within a shot.
Yeah, this is crazy, man. We've still got 2 laps to go when they cross the line next. So these last couple of laps are going to be quite interesting. There goes Howe looking up the inside of McLeod once again into the chicane. But Mitchell McLeod's throttle application, as we saw at Silverstone, is one of the best in this field. He really knows how to get the vehicle out of these faster to medium speed corners. Dalton with a slight advantage coming down into the hairpin. And a bit of contact between them. McLeod gets into the back of him. Howe gets into the back of McLeod. Hill and Dillon side by side once again in the background there. And it looks like Matthew Hill getting the advantage once more.
Yes, certainly getting the advantage again. And McLeod's still trying his best to find a way on by Lockie Dalton, who's doing a pretty decent job at holding on to the lead of this race at the moment, considering how much when attack he's been coming under for the past number of laps. But nevertheless, if he can just hold on for a little bit longer, he should be able to walk away with the race win. But McLeod with another really good run out of the final corner. He's going to give him a little bit of a bump on the way by as McLeod, and Justin Howe's not too far behind as well. So it could be a one to watch if they all come together. Is Dalton going to stay there and McLeod's going to stick his nose and he's going to hold him there, pushes him wide a little bit, but it's still going to be able to hold on, and Howell throws it up the inside as well.
Yeah, and Lockie Dalton with a bit less speed there backed McLeod into Howe, and now Mitch on the outside coming into turn 3. He's in trouble from Matthew Hill as well. Hill was a bit earlier on the brakes though, so McLeod fires it in, trying to keep his position round the outside. He's going to have the run into the hairpin on Justin Howe. We'll see how aggressive he is. Howe is in the number 78 just ahead of him. Sticks one up the inside, but Howe goes really hard to the hairpin and gives Lockie Dalton a big fat hip check.
Yes, certainly. And they're not leaving anything on the table with only 2 laps to go. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this league battle and who's going to end up coming away with the race victory, considering how hard they've all been battling and who's got what paces. Now, Howell's going to throw it up the inside again, but not going to be able to get the move done. And that's going to allow Mitch McLeod to catch back up as well and be all over the tail of Justin Howell and going to look to the inside as well on the way into the next corner. He's going to brake as late as he dares. Not too late to run into the back of Lockie Dalton and manages to get it done.
Yeah, he's backing it in there, but Dalton holding it round the outside. It's a bit of a straighter acceleration zone, allows you to slot back in before this right-hander, and Matthew Hill has taken great advantage of that, bumps McLeod out of the way, and McLeod now side-by-side with Aaron Dillon and looking like he might fall behind before we get to the start-finish straight. He's doing a great job of holding it round the outside, though, and it looks like just letting him go. He will hope that Todd Maxfield doesn't factor into that too much there in the number 16, but McLeod back out onto the start-finish straight. And it is going to be final lap for these guys. The white flag is in the air. For second and third, it's very close. Big weaving between Justin Howe and Matthew Hill. Hill with a bit of contact there down at the bottom of the screen. They go into the first corner. Howe backs it in there, gives Lockie Dalton a bit of a tap. Another tap between Howe and Hill. Side by side coming into turn 3. McLeod's managed to get back ahead of Dillon and Maxfield. So now into 4th place for Mitchell McLeod. He's got quite a lot of distance that he can use to get back up to this leading pack.
There's plenty that can happen in this 3/4 of a lap. So if anything happens between these top 2 or top 3, McLeod is right there to take advantage. So have to wait and see what happens. But Hill looking to make a move into second place, but not going to be a gap to be able to do that into turn number 5.
Not for now, though, but they do still have another long straight, a hairpin, a few sweepers to go in this circuit. Lockie Dalton, he's holding on for dear life to this race lead, and he knows that he's got what it takes to come home with it, but Justin Howe is really pressuring him. Matthew Hill as well, the winner of race 1. He wants to add another victory to his tally. Mitchell McLeod in 4th, probably hoping that all of them are going to come together here for the lead, though. Lockie Dalton and Justin Howe, there's contact between them, and Lockie Dalton has been forced off the racetrack. Really slow, and that is going to gift the lead to Matthew Hill, and Mitchell McLeod could potentially get second here from Justin Howe. Big contact between the two of them. Howe bumping McLeod out of the way. Lockie Dalton back into 4th and could potentially lose it here to Aaron Dillon. Big wheel spin coming into the final 2 corners. What a great defense from Lockie Dalton, a fantastic drive, but it wasn't enough at the end. Matthew Hill taking advantage of the contact, and he's going to come home with victory in the final race of the night. Second place is going to be Justin Howe, and Mitchell McLeod coming home in 3rd place. Poor Lockie.
Yeah, it wasn't probably the way he hoped the race was going to finish, and fortunately going to have to settle for a 4th place finish. But what a chaotic fight for the win that was. Just absolutely nothing in it the entire race.
Yeah, absolutely nothing at all. And on a quick tally of what I can see from the results, I think Matthew Hill might have done enough there to win the round, taking 2 wins and a 9th. So that's who I'm calling for the round winner. I could well be wrong, but we'll obviously find that out. Here's a replay of something that happened for Gary Wellman coming down into turn 1 and not braking. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Isn't that beautiful? I wish he could have stayed there and not disappeared. That would have been Chariots of Fire material there, Cam. But a great night of racing nonetheless.
Certainly, it was a very, very glorious way to enter the sky. But nevertheless, Matthew Hill taking up the race one, followed by Justin Howe, Mitchell McLeod rounding out the podium, Lockie Dalton and Aaron Dillon rounding out the top 5 with Todd Maxfield, Lindsay Hobbs, Sam Devantier, Cade Donnelly, and Dwayne Priest rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, Gary Wellman, who we were just viewing, came home in 11th place. Josh Thomas and Daniel Stevens coming home behind him. Nicholas Walsh and Christopher Finlay round out the top 13. Nathan Verney in 16th. Philip Howe started on on the front 2 rows here, but a jump start ultimately meant that he couldn't finish any higher than 17th. Bradley Kemp, Damian Westbrook coming home classified, and Ryan Jones, our sole retirement out of this 20-car field. Well, after Barcelona, I'm pretty hyped for the next round, but the thing is, Cam, we don't know what track the next round is going to be at. It's going to be announced on Friday once again. Whatever it is, it's going to be a nice surprise.
Certainly is going to be a nice surprise, and no doubt it's just going to be as good as what we've seen tonight in terms of racing. So looking forward to it regardless of whatever track it is, and hopefully we get some very, very exciting racing.
Indeed, we shall, if tonight and the previous 2 rounds are anything to go by. Big thanks for watching, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this broadcast here on SimSpeed TV. I want to give our thanks to Scamander Coffee Mug and to Damian Westbrook for their support of this series. Certainly wouldn't be happening without you guys. But looks like Mr. Matthew Hill has taken or probably done enough to take the round win here at Barcelona. What's going to happen next week? Well, you'll find out along with us. It's going to be same time, same channel, SimSpeed TV on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch. We hope to see you then. It's bye for now, but not forever.
fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney. Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Section's very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.